Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/random today. That's rocketmoney.com/random, rocketmoney.com/random. Let ZipRecruiter find top talent for your roles in no time at all. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/random right now, you can try it for free. That's the same price as laughing so hard that your sides hurt or getting a compliment from a random stranger, as if that ever happens. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/random. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. This episode is brought to you by iRestore, the clinically proven, game-changing hair growth device that's here to help you turn back the clock on hair loss. For a limited time only, our listeners get $625 off their order when you use code RANDOM at iRestoreLaser.com. Order at iRestoreLaser.com with promo code RANDOM. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. Where can we see your special, Ty?
It's on Al Jazeera. And you know what? I thought that was not at all a good match.
Club Random.
I think you can relieve yourself of that pressure. There's nobody waiting, nobody expecting you.
Club Random.
So, a singer and then you.
They promised me Rich Scheidner. Hi, Billy.
Yeah. I've got Shelley. I got Shelley Ackerman, and then unless Belzer comes in,
And then it's D.F. Sweedler, and then you.
no, well, and Richard T. Bear also might want to do. He says just 2 songs, so
Yeah.
it'll be 5.
One of them is Inagata Davida. The other. So, by the way, nice digs. You bought the whole neighborhood.
No, don't say things like that because then.
What do you do? You got 5 houses. How many friends you have?
No. I'm a simple guy. I've got 1 house, 1 car, and 1 plane. A simple guy.
You're a man of simple needs. It's very beautiful.
Well, I never got married, and I never had children, and I never had alimony, and I never had stupid hobbies. So the money piles up. That's it.
And this is all from late night weekends at Catch, you say? Wow, you really saved.
Well, remember when we had the union fight?
Yes, I do. And what did we end up with? $10 a night?
Yeah. Well, is that what it was? I
think it
know.
was $10 and then $25 on the weekends, perhaps.
Well, for me, it was the perfect thing to write my novel about. I wrote a novel about.
Which I enjoyed very much.
You did? You read it?
I did read it.
Yeah.
There's a big Michael Caine theme in there.
Well, that's the thing, is that he was very pro-union and I was very anti, and it made a great sort of political spine for a novel about. I was just trying to show what it was really like, because I saw so many depictions in movies and everywhere where you can't describe what it's. You can't. You know, Tom Hanks did it in that movie, and that's Tom Hanks. He was good. I remember
he was
him.
great. The movie, but the story, it's never going to be a 90-minute story.
Well, I mean, I remember when he hung out at the Improv to learn what it was like to be a stand-up. What was the name of the movie?
Punchline.
Punchline with Sally Field, I think, was the female.
The Jersey housewife became a.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's ever going to do it as an actor playing a comic better than Tom Hanks, but it still was not. It didn't tell us what the. So I said, I'm going to write a novel, since I wasn't getting hired anywhere, about this life and do it. And the political spine really was. I thought that we were in a situation where they're using us and not really paying us, but we're using them to get the stage time that we need. That it was kind of a fair bargain. And Mike Caine was more, this is a friend of ours, now deceased.
Not Michael Caine, the British actor.
No, not the British actor. And, he was all the union, and I thought it was like, well, That's your excuse, because he was a great guy and a funny guy and a great raconteur, but he was never going to make it as a stand-up. And I thought he was using, I'm a revolutionary, as an excuse for failure. That's really the theme of the book. And the other guy, me, he thinks I'm just too ambitious and I'm willing to sell out. And I was like, yeah, I'm willing to sell out. I'm willing to like,
Yeah, no, we were all grateful for having, that chance to get on stage. Where else are we going to do it?
And they were making a lot of money.
They were making a ton of money, and so it seemed, maybe not unionable, but so reasonable to say, yeah, pay the people who are, sitting here.
Yeah, there was a reasonable middle ground, which I'm sure we didn't hit. Or did we?
No, but
I felt like it went up from $3 to $25 or something.
$3, I don't ever remember $3.
$3 was cab fare. When I started, it was
really,
you got cab fare and a hamburger. If you worked that night, you got something from the kitchen.
I remember that. That's good. That's very nice.
What is that?
A little bourbon. A little bit that your lovely staff
I
went and
used
got
to
that.
drink bourbon.
And now you don't. So, no,
And now I don't. Yeah.
And now I don't. I remember that you could get food. You just come early. You didn't even have to work. My recollection is
Yes.
So
then-
we would all go. Sometimes guys. I remember Larry and Jerry going in the afternoon to get that burger. And there was a kitchen about the size of these two chairs. There was just sweating guy, just angry.
Yeah.
You should have a crack team of people doing that for you.
It's so funny. I was thinking that, and I said to myself, "Don't say it," because people are, no one is perfect.
No, nobody's perfect.
But
it makes you human.
But
you just humanize yourself.
But now that you mentioned it, you're exactly right.
Somebody will be fired later.
I will not do that. But yeah,
You have a guy
it's
who
like,
fires people.
and this is, I am.
It does. It says Club Random on the glass. Look at you.
Yeah. One reason I'm getting off the road after this weekend is because, nobody just can do anything anymore. I don't want to lay this all on the feet of the last two generations, and yet I'm talking about hotels, everything, just anything. They just cannot sort of get it together enough. From what I've seen, except I must say my brilliant producer, Sheila, has a knack for hiring people of those generations who are hardworking. They never fuck up.
That's why you're getting off the road, because the guy in the room service was tardy?
All of it is just a...
wow.
That's not the only reason, but every time I'm on the road this year, knowing that I'm not going to do it in 2025, I could go back, I don't know, but I feel like once you stop, every time I'm on the road, I turn to my great friend Mark, who's with me all the time, and I say, I have mixed feelings about getting off the road, but they're making it so easy for me to not want to do this, because the TV doesn't work in the home. Really? You can't get the TV? This is the best hotel in town. You can't get the TV working or air conditioning. William Shatner was here a couple of weeks. He was saying the same thing. You don't find this?
No.
Well, you're lucky.
No.
Everybody does everything right on the road.
No, but if I've slept and I'm not particularly cranky, I can roll with stuff. I do get in a hotel saying the TVs are working. There's always something stupid. They go, "Oh, breakfast downstairs," and you go, "Oh, it's not breakfast. It's a box of cereal and an orange." And it's like,
okay,
yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a box of cereal.
Yeah,
right.
But because I didn't do it for years. I didn't forget the road. I didn't even do stand up for 20 years. And talk about a muscle.
Now you got a special.
Now I got a special with the first every 32 years, like clockwork, Bill. Like that. But you'll find if you don't do it for a couple of months.
Yul Brynner, he was good too.
Yul Brynner.
No, I'm sorry.
I miss.
You said you'll find.
You'll find. Wow. You'll find. Yul Brynner. Wow. Yeah, but it's so funny. And I love the idea of going out, and then I look and I go, I don't want to go. I don't want to get on a plane. I don't want to go. I don't want to go there.
Exactly.
And then, without fail, every time I get on stage, I go, God, that was fun. Oh, I love that.
Exactly.
And
That's
so-
of course.
and-
You
and-
understand.
And I just and after a mediocre set or a shitty trip, I go, I don't need this. I don't want to do it. And then I go, I'll just go into a club and get one joke that works that I wrote yesterday. I went, love this.
It's our version of likes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
This generation has likes. Like, they love to get liked about everything. I find it pathetic that everything you do has to get the approval of people who are probably actually plotting against you, because there's such a bunch of vipers, that generation, always judgy and trying to cancel and trying to, that whole social media thing is a snake bit.
Pop, it's time for your pills.
Anyway, that you could say that, but it's also true.
I know what you mean. But yes, but I don't think we go down, I don't think we work or get laughs because we need the approval. I think the approval happens to be in the laugh.
No,
but
I'm talking about them. They need the approval.
Right.
I'm saying this is our version of that. This is our version of a like. But I feel like it's of greater value than your lunch, a picture of your lunch or something. We thought of something clever, which we think we can give to a bunch of strangers as a gift. Because what greater gift is there than making someone laugh? It's literally therapeutic.
Yeah, but I don't think any of us got into what can we do for these people? Do you know what I mean? I think we did it because
we want, of course,
we wanted
and we still do.
Yeah.
But at this point, we're not doing it for the money.
Right.
We're doing it because we like that feeling of, I gave you this gift of laughter.
Yeah.
Which is why we hate it so much when they don't laugh, because it's like, what are you talking about? This is a great gift.
What's wrong with you people?
And you don't like this sweater?
I was talking to somebody about did you ever have a tough night? Did you ever want to quit? And I go, no. And I remember in the early days, maybe in the first year of doing it, on a good night, something went well and you got a great response. You go, oh, fuck, this is the greatest thing. I can't wait to do it again. And then you go up on a night for whatever reason it wasn't good. Either you were off, the audience was off, and it sucked. And my thought was, I can't wait to do this tomorrow and get this flavor out of my mouth. And I thought, I must be I must be in the right place, because good or bad is leading me towards, I want to do this.
I definitely wanted to do it again more after I did good. I'm not going to lie. Those nights, I'm talking about the early days when we were together every night at the clubs. Those nights where it went badly, I had a rough time, because it sapped me of any desire to work on my act. I just couldn't face it.
Yeah.
Like, what I should have done is listen to the tape, because I taped every set on my little tape recorder. And I should have listened back right away, and I just couldn't get myself to face it.
No, for sure. It is hard. Whereas if you have a tape and you go, I want to hear that joke killed. Let me find that.
And then I would write down it word for word, how I said it.
And it's amorphous, because it's
totally.
It's like writing it down doesn't do shit.
It really doesn't. Sometimes it does, because sometimes you have to say something in a certain order, or it doesn't make sense, or it will not work. They'll get the idea, but there will be no laugh. Unless you mention A before B, you can't even get to C.
No, my favorite discovery now is taking words out and going, oh, look at that. Take those two words out, and that's writing.
I couldn't agree more.
Erasing is
I was
writing.
having that talk with Rich the other day. Like, when in doubt, take out. Don't add.
Yeah.
Don't add. And I heard David Mamet say the same thing about directing. He said, the more I directed, the more I realized, every time I think I've taken out too much, take out a little more. The audience is always ahead of you. And you see that in movies, you have to do so little in movies to move the story. You can show a scene where a man and a woman, just look at each other across the room, and you just get their physical reactions. Cut to the wet, da, 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 and we all know what happened.
Right,
we saw the look, and now they're married. We don't need we don't need to see the first date.
Was your first? I don't remember you coming in. I remember you suddenly being there. Did you, in the clubs? Did you audition night? Did you do?
Oh, totally. But when I was still in college, I remember Oh my God! It was like in the summer because
That's what I did. That's
I
what
was
I did
home.
too.
I
Yeah.
think it was August of I don't know 77 or something. I was still at Cornell,
Wow.
and oh my God, the guts to get into the city from New
Right. Yes.
Jersey.
You
It was
gotta
like so. I went in and I stood online.
At what time? Now, what time were you waiting online? Because this memory. Because I remember going in
The
like
day.
2:30.
Yeah, it was the day because here's what happened. I remember this. I wish I could remember this guy's name. He was kind to me. A black guy who took me up to Harlem in between the time because there was like we had to come back at like 10 o'clock at night to actually perform.
Yeah, if you're
So what
lucky.
am I going to do in the city?
Yeah.
Get a hotel room with the no money?
So who's the guy?
Oh, I don't
On the
know, but
street?
he said, he said, come hang out with me.
Another
And
comic.
yeah, he was
Oh,
also the guy online with me.
okay.
So another guy who was auditioning. And so we went up to like 155th Street or something, and it was just a place to hang. It was great.
Yeah, that's so fun. I forgot about that. You get. I remember you have to. It's. I remember it would get earlier and earlier. They'd give out the numbers at 5 o'clock, and then before you know it, it's 3 o'clock. 1. So you're taking the day off from work. I was working in the summer, and so you get in at 1 o'clock. You wait till 5 o'clock to give you a number, and if you didn't get in the top 10, you were 1 in the morning. You would get on at 1 in the morning. So that's your day. 14 hours to do 5 minutes. I have the tape somewhere. I may have told you that. I found a cassette of my very first time in college, between freshman and sophomore year. And I have my little cassette recorder on the table.
Right.
People didn't know that it was me. And I listened to the tape. And in the middle of my 5 minutes, I hear the guy go to his friend, say this kid's got balls.
Really?
And I thought, that's a good review.
That is a good
He could have said,
review.
he's got no balls. But I had
Right.
balls. Like he had the balls to go up with this shit
Well,
material.
just to go up at all.
Yes.
I mean, wow. I don't think I could do it today, nor should I have to. I mean, that's the passage of life. When you're young, you just got more moxie because you have to have
And
it.
you protect. My analogy is sort of like, babies can be underwater because they've been in this amniotic fluid. And it's like, so I think comedians protected this shield of stupidity and naivety. You have no idea how not good you are. And then later you go, oh,
Well,
that was not good.
what you don't realize is that making your friends laugh or a classroom laugh of kids who know
It's
you
different.
is different than strangers. That's what you have to, that's the rude, to me, that was the rude smack in the face from the beginning.
Yes, they're not your friends. And also the audacity, think about it, to watch somebody who goes up, I'm going to be funny. It's like, we don't presume that. We'll tell you if you're funny. But obviously that's not the issue now. You go and you're selling out a theater and people know you. They paid money because you don't have to, you still have to be funny, but you don't have to prove it.
To me, one of the biggest changes that solved a problem that I never really solved when I had the problem was the opening line. Because when they don't know you, it sucks. When they do know you and they bought a ticket specifically to see you, you don't have to explain yourself. It's just,
they know you.
Your opening line is, please stop applauding. Thank you so much. It's like,
there was a guy.
We're going to have a great time. It's so natural.
There was a guy at that time. Do you remember? He went up and he was in a wheelchair. He had something, polio or something.
Yeah.
And had a great, it was like early 70s.
Polio.
Yeah, truly.
Okay.
He was not a kid. Yeah, I do think he had.
Right, I do remember this.
Right? And this club is I keep wanting to talk to the audience to explain it. The narrow, you had to go between chairs. It was tough for anybody to walk through the chairs. So now you get a wheelchair, and there's 3 guys carrying him on a chair, and the audience is uncomfortable.
Right.
The audience is uncomfortable, and they leave, he's alone, and the audience is so uncomfortable. He waits a minute, and he goes, did you notice the chair? I go, Jesus Christ. I said, that's what an opening line should do. Just like, I know what you're thinking, let me pop it, and then we can move.
Well,
That's my
it is funny.
example.
It reminds me of Marjorie Gross's opening line. You remember that?
No. I remember Marjorie. What was the line?
Don't you hate what humidity does to straight blonde hair? And I thought, wow, I wish I could have I never could figure out the first line. So, I never got that good one. Or
Yeah, it's hard.
Steve Middleman Have you noticed I don't have a chin?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I mean, you're into it.
yeah. I know what you think. Yeah, but they appreciate audiences. If that line serves to say, "I know what you're thinking, and I'm with you."
Or that we're laughing already.
Yes, and okay, like when people say, "Do you ever bomb?" It's like only if you're oblivious, because even if your material's not working, but you acknowledge that and you go, "All right, that didn't work." Then they go, "Okay, he's not an idiot. He knows." So just being on the same wavelength.
You remember Leno's opening line?
No.
See the paper? See the paper? What can't you get to from
Yeah.
that? Did you see
Muhammad Ali?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, right.
Yeah, this is when Muhammad Ali was fighting just way below his...
But it could be any story.
Yeah, see the papers today?
See the paper? Yeah, Muhammad Ali's coming
Well,
out of
his
it.
great segue. It's the same with insurance. What is the same with insurance? Like, by the time you realize there was no connection, he's in 3 jokes in.
Hey, if you're a delicate soul like me, I get it, and you loathe the idea of having cold feet, you need to check out today's sponsor, Heat Holders. Their socks are my go-to when the temperature drops here in Southern California. If I need to head outside to get a package or let my dog out, Heat Holders are my constant companion. I absolutely love their blankets, too. They're perfect for a movie night. Plus, they also make ridiculously soft hats, jackets, and fleece vests that will keep you warm no matter what the weather throws at you. These base layers, which are great for early morning hikes, are game changers. Like their socks, they come in 3 levels of warmth. Just like a thermostat, choose what you need for whatever cold you're facing. Receive 15% off your healthholders.com order by entering the code RANDOM. Plus, receive free shipping with any purchase of $25 or more. Don't freeze this winter. Heat Holders will keep you warm. Remember to go to heatholders.com and use RANDOM to save 15% off of your order. Go to heatholders.com and use the code RANDOM to save 15% off today. I have a lot on my mind these days, like most people. If you asked me to name every single subscription I have, I'd likely stare at you in the face and then never speak to you again. I have no idea, and I wouldn't even know where to start, and I'm not alone. Over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. With Rocket Money, I don't have to remember every subscription or worry about forgetting any because I can see them all laid out right in front of me. Most Americans think they spend about $62 per month on subscriptions, but the real number is closer to $300. That's insane. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For any you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them with a few taps. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/random today. That's rocketmoney.com/random, rocketmoney.com/random. But you were a much more mature person, and probably still are, than me. When we started, we had dinner a couple of years ago, and we went over this. We don't have to go through it for the
Go
people.
through it. I sense a compliment at the end of it, so take your time.
Well, there's a compliment right there. You were more mature, and probably still.
I
But,
don't remember
mean,
being mature.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were quite mature, and I was not, and just obnoxious, and I had yet to learn that not everything is subservient to getting a laugh, including insulting people
On stage, you mean? Yeah.
or off stage, or whatever. And in my mind, it was like I'm at a roast, and everybody knows these are just jokes. And of course, You're not. You're in life, but when you're in that era when we were willing to stand on line in the sidewalk and do all that shit
In the summer.
and then that was just the beginning of the heartache for the years when you got no laughs or just couldn't even get on. But I mean, that thing that we wanted, that feeling, was such a magnet, that we could not resist. You would just keep going forward, even with all the pain and the heartache.
And what was really in our favor is that we had this system that, rightly or wrongly, we thought, here's what you do. Go to these places, and then you'll end up on The Tonight Show. Not sure how or that works, but we saw enough people coming out of there.
And it was true.
If
you went the different stages.
Yes. And I remember, like sometimes you get inspired by greatness. You see somebody great and you go, wow, okay, I want to try and reach for that. And often you get inspired by mediocrity. And I remember being in the summer and seeing a guy go up who was like, getting on, he was sort of the headliner or the big star, big shot of the club, but it was just okay. And then I'd go to school, and then like 8 months later, I'm watching The Tonight Show and that guy is on. And I remember the moment going,
like who?
Wait a second.
Like who was it?
Well, I don't want to say bad.
What?
David Say.
David Say.
Remember David Say? It's like, he was fine. And then I go, and I was on a Tonight Show. And the only thing he did, he just probably went up every night for the last 8 months. And it suddenly became...
It was also a case of what he did in a nightclub was not as explosively funny or as successful in a nightclub as, some more flamboyant act. But it was perfect for TV.
And of course, for Johnny.
For the people who came to the clubs to, the comic scouts who came out like pigs.
No, he had great
sniffling
line.
for truffle.
But I certainly don't want to sound like I was disparaging anybody. He had a great. But I remember thinking like, okay, he was still formative. He was still working it out, and it's less than a year, and he's on a Tonight Show. And I remember thinking, oh, that's not out of reach. I could do that. I mean, I'm not there yet, but if I just did what he did, and I go, and that's the thing that really moved me and warmed me when I had not worked really for 20 years. I didn't do stand-up. And when I went back and started doing it, it felt exactly the same as I did when I was 18. And I realized there's no shortcut. The only possible way to get better is to go up every fucking night, or as many nights as you can, and just carve it and work it. And you're working the jokes, you're working the material, but you're also working for me anyway, I think your personality was pretty established, but I felt like I had to re-find who are you?
Right.
I remember when I would go back, it's like, oh, now you've been on TV. Oh, we know this guy, which lasts 8 seconds, and then it's like,
sure.
What did you want to say? Well, yeah, that's the part I don't have.
That's with anybody.
Right.
It's with any comic.
But it was comforting to me to see that it's so low tech. It's just elbow grease and hard work.
It's almost the last low tech thing,
as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Or certainly of the things that I can do.
Well, that you can do in show business. I mean, it is maybe the last thing that looks like that, and that the audience doesn't really want that to change. I mean, people have tried to do different little things. I mean, Chris Rock, and I love him for the spirit of let's try something different. I always love to see people do that, but it was not a good idea. He shot a special, taped it in 3 different cities, I think on 3 different continents, and then spliced them together. Like the beginning of the joke was in London, and then you'd cut to the punchline.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I mean,
but not right for comedy.
It's jarring, but it was certainly revealing of how skilled and precise his craft was. It's like, oh, his arm was in the right exact.
No, it didn't add anything. It just like
I don't know if it added. It didn't add to the comedy, but it was impressive.
It took away from it. It's like we want to be in the illusion that this is a guy who's just spieling off the top of his head. He's just talking to us, and we've all had the experience when we were young comics and brought girls around to see us, and they saw the first time we did the set, and they were blown away. And then they come the second time, and they're like, "Oh, you told a lot of those jokes before. I thought you were a genius."
You're not that clever at all.
And the Chris Rock thing just blew that right out of the water. Again, interesting idea, not right for. And I think he would probably say the same thing.
It was an interesting experiment.
But you know, it's like Woody Allen movies. Like some of them are not great, but like he tries to push the envelope. He's an experimenter. And those are the people I admire the most.
It's so funny because I think of Woody Allen movies as not particularly experimental. I mean, but almost like that's what he does. And like, I'm going to wear the same pants for 40 years. I'm going to wear the same sweater. I'm going to make the same movies. You know, I remember I did this little off-Broadway play that he wrote and directed, which was in 20 years ago.
He directed you?
He directed it. It was really, really fun.
How was he to work with?
It was a thrill. This is before you knew anything, unsavory. You just go, it's fucking Woody Allen. And
that's more than 20 years ago.
No, 2003.
That's 10 years after the unsavory.
I didn't know about it, though.
I'm sure you did.
No.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about the... Yes, Soon-Yi was 93.
Yeah,
yes. Half the people wrote him off just for that.
Yeah.
I write him off for nothing. I love him and think what's happened to him is just a ridiculous travesty of justice and says everything about the witch hunty atmosphere that can obtain on the left.
I wrote a thing. There's a little, I forget what, you did one. It's called Kindle, those little Kindle books. Or Amazon, they're like mini books, like 10,000 word things. And I did one, it was on Amazon, and it was just people that I've met, who I admired, who I've worked with, from whom I've learned something. And so I'd gotten to work with Mel Brooks and Carol Burnett, and I always learned something from each of them. And I had a thing in there on Woody Allen.
That's a great idea for him.
It was, it was called How Do I Get to Carnegie Hall? It was the name of the And I remember, and I had a thing, I forget, it was at least 15 years ago. And I had a thing in there about Bill Cosby, and the editor goes, you can't put that in now. I went, I know why. I know what you mean, but this is pre that, and then I said, well, and here's another story about Woody Allen. He goes, I don't think we can include that. I went, Jesus, I hope Mel Brooks doesn't get caught with a Boy Scout in a motel room, because I got a beautiful story. Now it's a race. Now it's a race.
Just so you did take it out?
I didn't include the Woody story. But,
You didn't want to fight for Woody?
No, I didn't want to fight for me. No, it wasn't that, it wasn't that gold. It wasn't that important to me either way. But what I remember, and it was very warming, you'll appreciate this as a comic, it was a 99-seat theater. It was 2 one-act plays. I was just in the first one. And it was a two-hander mostly. It was third actors, but it was mostly two-hander. And about a month of rehearsals and previews, maybe 6 weeks. And that was the best time. And we'd go, we'd do the thing, and then afterwards he'd come back with notes. And and it's like, and the minute the show opened, he stopped coming. Well, this is no fun now. I'm getting $200 a week. And in a shitty
Literally?
Yeah, maybe whatever scale is for
right.
equity. Yeah, it was like my room service. It barely made a dent in room service, but it was great fun. But the fun of it was getting notes from Woody. And I remember one night he comes back and goes, that line, I don't know why that worked yesterday, but why didn't it work today? And I went, are you new? What do you mean? He goes, no, but why did it work yesterday? I said, because I fucked it up. I said some whatever. But I thought, he's at that point in his 70s.
You said that to him? Are you new? Did he laugh? Did he laugh?
Yeah.
You should. That's funny.
You're in his 70s, and he's still chasing that shadow of like, but why did it not work? I went, oh, that's why this is exciting. And I thought I was heartened that he's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, because I would certainly ask the same question. And there are times in stand-up when we do that, when we do the line, and you think it's the same thing, and sometimes you never get what I used to call the virgin take. Like the first time you say it, sometimes just ad-libbing it.
Yeah.
Or riffing on something.
And why did it have that power? And it worked.
And then because again, it is so precise. I mean, one thing I've always liked about being on the road and having an act is that it was like my hobby of building a little wooden ship inside of a bottle. I was always tinkering to get it perfect. And you're right. Like sometimes it's like a clitoris. It's just never in the same place for more than a minute. And that's just what it is. It's true. It's always moving around.
I'm going to try and shake that image now of.
Well, it's
Your
a
joke is
delightful
like the
image. You
clitoris.
don't
Yeah.
think?
No, it's distracting.
Yeah, hopefully it's distracting.
Yeah,
If it's
hopefully.
not, it's a shitty clitoris. By the way, I once
I
knew
saw
a-
them at the Fillmore. Is that where you were going?
Basically, just slightly off the. I was going to say, I don't know why, but that's exactly the right line.
2 nights only.
Shitty
Shitty.
No,
I
was
saw
gonna
him
say-
open for Julie Budd years ago.
I think I was going to say I knew a stripper named
There you go. That'll work.
Shitty Clitoris. It is a very good name.
But see, going back to like talking about editing, it's like I feel so efficient and successful when I've cut out 2 words and now the joke is tight.
Exactly.
But then the next night I'll go, well, now it's working. Let me see if I can add something to it. It's like, okay, and it's always
No.
shifting.
Getting it ever tighter. I mean, there's 2 things I like tight, and one is a shitty clitoris, and the other thing
Is my act.
it's a bit, yes. So
We'll be back right after these words from Lavoris
Del Monte.
Del Monte's Frozen Peas.
So, where can we see your special?
It's on Al Jazeera, and you know what? I thought that was not at all a good match.
Al Jazeera.
It is on anywhere you can buy or rent stuff. They tell me because I can never. I would love to say it's on Netflix. People know what that means, but it's on like Amazon or Apple. Just rent it. My sister called me. She goes, "I have to rent your show."
Wait, you can see something on both Amazon and Apple? Aren't they bitter rivals?
No, when it's transactional, no.
This thing probably could be seen on both, and here I am talking about it that way, but I'm not the business end
I don't
of
know
it.
where this is. I've never seen this.
I'm not the business
I
end.
see clips of this, and people go, "Where'd you see it?" I go, "I don't know. It just came up." I'm on Instagram, but I don't know how to navigate it. So whatever comes up, I look at. I've never searched for something. People go, I sent you a thing. I go, I don't know how to do it back.
I don't want to do it.
I didn't want to
I
do
don't
it.
want-
Somebody told me to, so I did, but
Yeah.
I'm inactive
It's a- you
because
know-
I go, who wants to see the tuna melt that I had Wednesday? This is a beautiful tuna melt.
No, I mean, and this is, again, apropos of what you said before, where they're saying, Pop, you need your pills or something. And you can make all the age jokes in the world you want, but something can also just be true. So why don't we engage with the actual idea
Yeah.
instead of just making judgments? And is it healthy? Is it a great use of time? I think, make easily the argument it is not. It is a time
being
suck.
what? Social media?
Instagram, yes, all of it, most of it. It's a time suck. And it's
Fuck
why
yes.
no one reads a book anymore. So do I have to pretend that that's a good thing because I'm 68 years old? That, I don't want to sound, that's so much of the problems on the left, I think, is that. It's like, I want to be with the young and sound young. Yeah, but the young are dumber a lot. They're stupider. So why do you want to do that? Why don't you lean into what's actually could be working for you? Yeah, we're not as cute as we used to be, but we're smarter, or we should be, and wiser.
You hate young people. You don't
Oh, please.
I
If
know.
anyone
There
is with young people, it's me, not you.
What? That's actually with young people.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think I mean?
I go finish your thought.
That
don't
is
know.
my thought.
I've had
I
4.
mean, I never got married, is what I'm saying.
I'm
so,
well
So
aware.
I love
And I'm
young
here,
people.
Bill, because I got a girl for you. I got a cousin.
I hang out with lots of Gen Z and millennials, and usually that generation, yes, they're shit. But when there's a good one, they're the best.
Yes, of
They are the best. They got me through the pandemic when the kids my age wouldn't come out to play, and my millennial friends. And if you never got married, you're just more in their kind of milieu, even though
Well,
some
you're
of
out.
them,
You're out in the world more.
you're out in the world more, and it's just different. I mean,
See, now, I don't love going out. This was an effort to come here today.
Really?
Well, I was looking forward, and I was delighted to be invited, and I was happy to see you.
it's going well, don't you think?
A lot of this you can be cut. You can make a lovely 5-minute spot.
Well,
from
I'm
this.
having the time of my life.
I am too.
This is like the greatest thing that's done. Podcasting has done for me. Whatever the money, I don't know.
Because it's like having
It's-
friends over,
it's-
but you're monetizing.
it's not even monetizing. It's like, would we do it otherwise?
Right,
We went to dinner and that was fun. This is much better because I'm
But
stoned.
it took 20 years to find the
I
time
know,
to do it.
but like everything I do that I really enjoy doing, I want to do stoned. And it's only a few things in life. But like talking to you is definitely one of them. And like we just wouldn't do it if there wasn't like a job. If you hadn't noticed already, I'm kind of busy. I have a TV show, I travel for stand-up, and I make this damn podcast. And then there's my needlepoint. Oh gosh, I don't have time for one more endlessly time-consuming task like hiring, which is why I love ZipRecruiter. If you're an employer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But now there's hope, thanks to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds qualified candidates and fast. And today you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/random. ZipRecruiter is the hiring site employees prefer the most, based on G2. How fast does ZipRecruiter's smart technology start showing your job to qualified candidates? Immediately. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology works fast to find top talent, so you don't waste time or money. Let ZipRecruiter find top talent for your roles in no time at all. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/random right now, you can try it for free. That's the same price as laughing so hard that your sides hurt or getting a compliment from a random stranger, as if that ever happens. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/random. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Well, it's the holidays when everyone is standing under the mistletoe looking for a big sloppy kiss. Listen, guys, it's hard enough to find a date with a full head of hair, never mind one that's thinning. If your head is as barren as the North Pole, there's finally some help for those dealing with hair loss. It's totally painless and it's called iRestore. This episode is brought to you by iRestore, the clinically proven, game-changing hair growth device that's here to help you turn back the clock on hair loss. iRestore's FDA-cleared laser and LED system isn't just another gadget, it's a scientifically advanced approach to hair restoration that you can use right at home. The iRestore Elite is engineered with 500 lasers and LEDs designed to provide maximum scalp coverage and deliver the energy necessary to revive dormant hair follicles. In just a few months, you'll see improvement as your hair regains its vitality. It's the most non-invasive, pain-free, and drug-free way to bring your hair back to life, backed by real science. Are you ready to get medical-grade red light treatment at home to regrow your hair? For a limited time only, our listeners get $625 off their order when you use code RANDOM at irestorelaser.com. Order at irestorelaser.com with promo code RANDOM. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore.
But you found a little niche. It's like, I'm going to have friends over, people that I want to talk to, and have a
Yeah,
drink.
they're not always even people I've ever met, but it's just
nice.
fun to talk to somebody.
I bet you Jane Fonda had no David Say stories. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah. David Say, by the way, I looked up to. First of all, he did have a killer first, like 5 or 6.
Yes, he did.
You know, he understood very well that sort of a Tonight Show spot, which was the sunum bonum of show business for us, was...
Wasn't that Cher's husband, Sunam Bono?
5 to 6 minute,
Yeah.
clean. Okay, we're talking about the 1980s here. Clean, 5 or 6 minutes that was clever and would make Johnny go, that is all relatable stuff. That's
I remember
clever stuff.
He had a line. He goes, "Yeah, so a commercial." He always had a little tough guy air to him.
Well, he had the accent, the Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Bronx guy. And it was like, so I had, do you have a problem with alcohol? Call 726-3545. It's Carlisle's Liquors.
I remember
Carlisle was such a great choice. Carlisle.
I remember.
But you know what? I don't remember. And this is the stuff of the comedy club that you were talking about before that maybe doesn't lend itself to a movie. I remember, comics are not really competitive. People are like, oh, competitive. I said, no, we were never. We were always supportive. And, well, I mean,
Both.
yeah, you could be envious. Wow, he got that. I want that. But I always thought, actors, 17 of you go up for the role, only one will get it. But a new club opens, you'll all go if you're good enough. You're there next week, I'm there next week. And there's room for everybody. But we would often go over to somebody and go, hey, I got a line for you. Or go, hey,
Yes.
right? And I remember
If
earlier,
it wouldn't work for us,
no.
you'd give it away if it wasn't something you could do.
Yeah, but in other words, someone did a bit. It's like, here's
Like
a
shower water doesn't get in your pussy. I mean, I thought of that. I did that first, and it didn't work for me.
It was always my other thing. If two guys had the same bit, all right, listen, you can do it in New York, but I can take it on the road.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I remember that.
that was the Yalta conference. Here's how we'll settle this. But I remember he was getting ready for a Tonight Show, and I had not even a line. I had maybe 2 words to add or a little twist on a line. He went, that's good, thanks. And then I saw him do it on the Tonight Show. My 2 words, whatever it was, and I remember that being so a moment for me. It's like, I said it to him here and it came out there.
Right.
It was more proof to like, yeah, so this does lead to that.
That's great.
And I remember it was almost more impressive than
Wow.
for me, more exciting for me than when I actually did the Tonight Show. It was like, because I was so green and I gave him a line that ended up on television. I went,
Right. Yeah, I mean,
this is the most anybody's talked about him in a long time.
Yeah.
He was great.
I mean, he had this. By the way, he is one of the comics who sort of is a character in that book, True Story, that I wrote, the novel. The people who were, like, everyone has said to me over the years, like, is this one, this? No, it's not people you would know. And sometimes it's not the people who you would think would make the better characters because they got more famous. It's the people who were interesting characters. And David Say, I combined with some other comic we would know to make one of the characters, because what was so interesting to me about David Say was he was like this ultimate pussy hound. And he lived in an apartment in like
Riverside.
Riverside.
Yeah.
Where is that? Like the Bronx?
No, Riverside is here, Riverdale.
Riverdale. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Bronx, yeah.
With his wife, who he was divorced from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were divorced, and had a son, and still lived together. But like he was just all about the pussy, like everything on the road. I remember him once saying to me said, "Yeah, STDs. I just don't get those kind of things. And apparently he didn't. And I remember him telling me, and I think I put it in the character in the book, that he was always so hot for his wife after he got home from the road when he fucked some stranger.
Sure. That's the healthiest thing for a relationship.
So this is who I idolized.
That's in my new book, How to Improve Your Marriage. Fuck someone on the road, come straight home.
I was 22.
Well,
okay,
listen,
this to me was like, he was
but the
about
clubs
10 years
were
old.
full of guys who would never have gotten laid as much as they did, if not for the fact that you were on stage.
I never found it to, I mean, it certainly was not any cathode in the pussy beaker for me to be a comedian. I think I was so self-sabotaging with women in so many ways in my 20s that, sometimes, first of all, yes, girls do like to laugh. But again, that thing I told you before about like everything in service of just getting the laugh, that didn't work well with women who were sensitive to begin with. So
True.
it took a thick skin.
But what it did is if you went on stage and woman came over to you afterwards, you were already in. It's like, because like you don't have to meet cute. I'm like, I've been looking at you, I already know you, and I'm talking to you.
But they didn't. That didn't happen. I don't remember.
Let me make a call, because there's no reason you shouldn't have met girls. It's never too late, Bill.
I'm not saying I never met girls, but I don't feel like they made the big, again, because I've always scared people a little. I don't know why.
Do you know that you are still a reference point in my my marriage?
Oh, of course. Tell this. I'll tell it, or you tell it. You tell it, because I want to see how you tell it.
It's not a piece of material, but we talked about for a bunch of reasons that we've never figured out. And I've been with my lovely wife Paula for 42 years now, married for 36 or something. For reasons we never understood, we met when I was a comedian in a club in Pittsburgh. She was a waitress. And for reasons we never understood, the owners, these two knucklehead brothers, were telling her, oh, you're going to like this guy, Paul. I'd never been there. They never met me. And they were telling me when they picked me up at the airport, he goes, yeah, we got a lot of nice waitresses. There's one you're going to like. I went, oh, I got it. He goes, no, she's not like that. She's real. And he was sort of making this match so that when we met the next day, she wasn't there the first night, we both were kind of like, oh, I've heard so much. And that was it. So cut to, we're going out immediately, and months later, you're there, and she goes, and I said, oh, Bill's a friend of mine, go say hi. And she said, she went over to you and said, hi, I'm Paula. I'm Paul Reiser's girlfriend. And you went, oh, sure you are, sweetheart.
No. Okay.
That was how she remembered it.
I knew you would fuck up how the retelling of the crux of it.
It's my marriage. I can, you do it. By the way, I'll do your version.
Because you quoted me, and I can quote me better than you can quote me. I didn't say sure you were. That is the essence. I understand why you got there to that.
I love it. Go.
But it was more elaborate than that. It was not sure you are. It was, yes, if you wanted to boil it down to the...
Do. But you tell the story now.
I remember this having a conversation where I was just saying, look, I'm in the clubs all the time. We're at this place with people, a lot of clubs opening, comics, it's a common thing. They were around the waitress and they go out. And I was just trying to alert her to the fact that
It might not go somewhere.
It might not really be as serious as you think, which is hysterically funny because of irony and the fact that it's such a great, successful marriage all these years later. So,
and Larry Miller's
I guess what I'm saying is, however you tell the story, I'm the asshole.
No, but
I love that.
No, you're not the asshole. But you were speaking to a truth. It's like, oh, here's this sweet
I was
young...
really trying to do a mitzvah. I was.
Yes, and yes, and it's like, oh, it's not all, it's such
But I have a much more fundamental question.
Uh-oh.
That I think I would love to know the answer. Maybe you don't even know it. But what is it that, the way you describe this, of these two different people who sort of independently thought you two would go well together?
It was one of the two brothers. I don't know that they were both involved, but it was one guy.
You said one said you'd like her and one said
no,
she'd like...
No, but I remember... I don't know that. I remember what the guy, one who said to me, and I think it was the same guy who told her.
But my question is, what qualities did they see in both of you that made them think, oh, these people would be right together?
I remember, literally this knucklehead, and it was a shitty club, and where they put you up in their apartment. And I remember this is like the lowest, because comics, like sometimes you get a hotel, otherwise you get, sometimes they would have a comedian condo.
Oh.
This was one step below that. This was their fucking thing. Literally, here's what I came, oh, you'll be staying with us. And this was so, I didn't have the confidence or the wherewithal to go, yeah, no, this is not going to work. I'm going to be in a hotel. Stay in his bed. It was a water bed, and he was in it. And when I get there, and they go, whatever his name was, Jeff, I think, or something, Keith. He goes, hey, it's Paul. I go, oh, how you doing? And he gets up, and he's in underwear with a copy of Penthouse, and he gets up, and the waterbed is yours. I went, oh, no. And that's where I was for 3 nights.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of thing that I put in the book, that I thought that you'd have to live this life.
Yes.
If you really want to know what it was like for us, read True Story, because I lived it.
It was a good book. It was a really,
it just was first, I never tried to write another novel because it's like, no, novelists have one good book in them. It's like about their formative years usually, and then they rewrite the same theme their whole career.
I don't know that that's...
What?
I don't know that that's necessarily true of all novelists.
How many novelists can you name that have like more than 1 or 2 great books?
Murakami.
Who?
Murakami, Japanese.
God bless you.
John Boyne. You ever heard John Boyne?
No. Jesus Christ.
All right. Whatever your point is, fine. Whatever.
No. You're probably right because I don't even know who these people are.
All right.
So I guess.
Well, you live in the back. Do you know that joke? That was my parents' joke. There was a radio.
So you still read novels?
not still, newly. I didn't read for years. I used to even do a bit about how I can't read, and certainly, if I did read, it would be like current events.
You didn't do stand-up. What the fuck were you doing?
So, but in the last 2 years, I've just suddenly gotten really into reading all this, and a lot of it is like because I don't have to watch the news. I'm just burying my head in the sand, and a lot of times I need more sand. There's not a lot of sand, and so I've been enjoying reading novels. But only up to like 2 years ago, I used to do a bit about how I can't read, and if I could read, when I do read, it's only nonfiction. I said, because fiction, I said, wait a second, I can barely hold on to what's happening. Did this shit happen? Don't make up new shit. Because I can only have this much, but now I only want fiction because I've seen what's...
And how did you, and so you're saying, okay, I haven't read in 20 years, and I'm going to start with
Murakami?
Yamamoto or whatever. Who is it? How'd you, like, why'd you start with?
I didn't start.
Well, how'd you know about
because he's written
her.
like 90, guy, and I forgotten his first name. He's written like 40 novels, and he's very quiet. He's sort of like the Kurt Vonnegut of this moment, like in that like young people. Oh, a new Murakami book is coming out. Check it out.
I always am happy to learn. I'm always happy to say I don't know.
I am
because
happy
then I
to
learn
introduce him to you.
Or are his books long?
Some. Actually, maybe start with his nonfiction. He wrote a great book called Novelist as a Vocation, and it talks about writing.
I think everything is too long. What?
Like this? This watered down to a lovely 7-minute spot. When you take out the fat, you'll see this really sings.
If there's one thing that's great about the holidays, it's the surprises. I love opening a gift and being stunned by what's inside. Or who. I kid. Today's sponsor, OneSkin, is really taking that to heart. As the first company to target skin aging at the cellular level, OneSkin wants to give you the gift of healthy aging, free. Throughout the month of December, you'll get a free travel-sized product valued at up to $42 with every purchase. For someone who travels as much as I do, it's the perfect gift. OneSkin was founded by a team of 4 female PhD-level longevity scientists. After testing thousands of peptides, these scientists discovered something called OS1. Their flagship product, OS1 Face, is clinically proven to improve firmness, fine lines, and overall tone and appearance. I've been using it, and even my neighbor said she thought I looked 35, but of course she's blind. Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS01 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code RANDOM at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code RANDOM. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Yeah, I mean, you keep making jokes, but this is like better than all my Tonight Shows put together. It's like, there's something about really, I really worked hard to make this like as close to like what we would actually be like if we weren't like doing a podcast.
It is.
And it is exactly.
It is exactly.
And
I love that you have something like 47 cameras. It's 2 guys. It might be overkill, but I salute you.
You know what? Better too many than too few.
Yes.
Better to have a camera, not need one, than need one and not have one.
That's how I live. I live by that statement alone.
What do you make of these people who do everything on camera? You know who in our era did everything on camera? 2 people. Hitler was filmed a lot.
Yeah, he did like a lens.
And Hugh Hefner also. I never ever went there when it wasn't filmed.
I was never stepped foot in the Playboy. I was never invited.
Why? Really?
I was not.
Really?
Well, you were single and successful.
Exactly.
I was
right.
Never in that scene. I don't enjoy a party. I love this. I love breaking down one-on-one, sometimes 2,
right.
3 people. a party scene. It's like it's just
Really?
well, it's just constant broken conversations. You know, like if you think what's the best moment of a party, it's like when you got into a nice conversation with one person, but the general vibe of.
But sometimes it's like so many interesting people.
But then I feel like
in the same-
I can't keep all the plates spinning. I'd rather let's
You
get.
don't have to keep them spinning. I mean, you could stop one conversation, say goodbye, and then have another one. I mean, like if you talk to Harvey Keitel for 5 minutes and then talk to another person, he's not going to shoot you.
I'll try it.
Uh, I'll try it.
I remember walking away. I was talking to another comic at the Improv, which I used to hate. I think I set the record for the shortest amount of time from doing a set at the Improv and getting the fuck out. The hang I found soul depleting. And I remember once I was talking to another comic and I made some ham-fisted excuse. He goes, "You don't need an excuse. You don't have to go, I got to get a tomato juice." I'm like, just walk away. You don't need a...
Wow, see, this is interesting because I always thought of you as a very social creature.
I am, but I can be, and I have that skill.
Yeah.
But more and more, I find it depleting.
Wow.
And I love solitude, and I love being.
I do too.
And I love, and I have, with my wife, we can have great time, and with certain select friends, that was really good. But a part of it is because I am social and, and a pleaser, that I try. Like a nightmare for me is if we'll have an occasional party at my house, and I go, I gotta make sure everybody's having a good time. It's like
Right. No, I
that's
agree. When you're a
definitely-
host of a party, it's like playing a football game. When you're done with it,
exhausting.
you feel like you just played football. It's very exhausting, mentally and physically.
Well, but it shows
if
you
you're
care.
doing it right.
Yeah, yes.
If
you're doing it
if
right.
you're Puff Daddy and you're just jerking off while everybody else gets the lube on them and goes at it,
jerking off, get the loo. No, I'm making notes. This is good.
What? I'm just saying, at the freak off, I don't think it's a good host to sit in the corner and masturbate. I think you need
I
to
have
be.
always been against that. I've been
Exactly. I mean, I've had many parties here, some in this very room. I mean, big stars. Barbara Streisand has been in this room. Okay, I didn't sit in the corner and jerk off and watch them, although it was interesting and it would have been fine to do that. I don't think there's
I
anything.
would imagine that if Barbara Streisand saw you in the corner jerking off, she would be not enthralled.
And rightly so. And rightly so, because it means you're being a bad host.
Well, people who need people, if you know what I'm saying.
Kids, that's one of
Yes,
that's her signature song.
Bill needs some people. Look at
man.
him alone in the corner whacking himself.
I just watched for, I don't know, probably the 5th time, The Way We Were. And
To prep for this with me?
no,
That's so sweet.
no.
I'm not in it.
But it's actually apropos to we're talking about the political spine of True Story being about someone who thinks that people are being, a little too self-righteous and a little too, I'm for the cause when really the cause is them, versus people who are accused of being sort of Machiavellian. And he did accuse me of that in those days. And that's sort of what The Way We Were is about. She's always for the cause. And they have that great speech in there where he's like, why are we doing this? People, he just got punched because she's in Washington testifying. And why are we doing this? People are going to get hurt. And for what? In 10 years, some fascist director will make a movie with some capitalist producer, and they'll do it. They'll make the movie together. They'll play tennis together. They'll make passes at each other's wife. And what did anybody ever die for? People. People are more important than their principles. And she goes, Hubble, people are their principles. And, that was him.
What made you watch the movie again? Was she because she was coming?
Because I was showing it to somebody dear to me who I like to
Hadn't seen
expose to movies that
It was a beautiful movie.
she has not seen before.
Because she's 11. And she had not seen Kodachrome.
Oh,
I watched that not long ago.
It's just so great.
It's beautiful. It's got scale and scope, and it was great.
It's amazing what the kids like.
What have you seen lately that you said that's a great film?
Mm, great question. And I do see them, and then like name some things.
You know what I just saw? I wouldn't say it was great, but I loved every minute of it, and I was not prepared to. Was Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin in
Sasquatch.
A Real Pain? Jesse Eisenberg directed, wrote it. Two cousins.
Oh, I read
go to
about
Poland.
it. Yeah.
Beautifully shot, beautifully
well,
done.
I'm a big Jesse Eisenberg fan.
Oh, fuck, you'll be thrilled.
Oh.
And it was just like, I went, wow, every shot is beautiful. It's a lovely story.
No, and I know him. He's a great guy. So
obviously smart guy.
So smart.
And to your point about in film, you don't have to spell everything out. I kept watching going, where's he going to go with the script? I went, oh, he just actually let us sit with it. He didn't jam it down our throat. I was very impressed. I thought it was a really beautiful film.
I remember years ago, I forget where, I think we were at a Met game or something. And I mean, this has to be like 10 years ago. It was right after Twilight. Or no, it must be a little more after that. But he had done 4 movies with Kristen Stewart. And I said, why so many movies with this? He said, I think she feels safe with me. And I said, boy, you tell her. If she ever got with me, she would not feel safe.
No, I don't feel safe right now.
And then, of course, she became completely gay. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to be able to. But I always thought she was so attractive. And some guys did not. They thought she was
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. They thought she was, she's not a bombshell type. But
you're talking about it like she's 97. She's 30.
Oh,
maybe.
Still beautiful.
Yeah.
But, she's,
Don't sell yourself short, but you got a shot.
No.
By the way, if this was later in the party,
No.
I would do this.
No.
And I would ask you, how's the egg rolls? But I wouldn't, because you know what? It's not the kind of comedy I do. You know the jokes. I don't do ethnic jokes. You know the ones.
Who said that?
I know every bad comic. You know the ones that I don't do. Bam, 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 bam.
Oh man, I can still remember so many people's lines.
Oh, yeah.
Because we saw them every single night.
I remember when we started, and we did David Say and Belzer, and Elaine Boozler was, taken off, and she was great, and she was just great every night. And I knew her years ago, and I didn't see her, and we sort of became friends a few years ago. We were doing some charity event together. We had lunch, and I said, you have no idea how much I used to sit and watch your set. And I said, remember this line? You had a great line, blah, blah, blah. And she went, never heard of it. And I would do 6 or 7 of her lines that she had no recollection. I went, why do I remember this 45 years later? And it meant nothing to her.
But she didn't work in New York. We didn't start with Elaine Boozler.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I was a few years ahead of you.
But she was on the West Coast.
When I started, 74, 5, 6, a couple of years ahead of you.
Oh, you started in 74?
Yeah, it was my first audition night. But I didn't start hanging out in earnest till 77. But when I would come in audition night and I'd watch, and she was there, and 75, she was already doing Merv Griffin, doing the Tonight Show.
Right.
But she would sweep in, and she was clearly on her way.
Yeah.
But enough for me to go, wow, she was just, talk about tight. Her writing was so. Hey,
what?
Her jokes were so well crafted.
I remember seeing her out here when I drove across country when I was 21 with my college roommate in an $800 car, and selling hash along the way.
That's always smart.
Literally sleeping in college dorms that we just crashed.
What could go wrong there?
I know, but we got to the West Coast, and I remember seeing her at the Comedy Store at West. They had a Comedy Store.
Westwood.
Was it in West? Yes.
Well, Comedy Store is...
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just, wow, I'm in this, for just being in a comedy club at 21.
But it was her. It was actually an interview where she talked about, you have to write every day. And by the way, writing includes taking 2 words out of a joke. And I went, oh, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard. So, I mean, we talked about that before, I realized I got that idea from reading an interview with her. Sometimes it's funny how you can, one little line or one twist on a joke makes you go,
Exactly.
they've got it.
No, that's it.
They've got it.
Because they never have much when they start, because at least on my show, it's just not like other shows. And so there's a very steep, long learning curve. You cannot expect them to be good even in the first few years.
So what do you spot?
Just a funny mind. You know, somebody who thinks funny. Sometimes somebody who like has a great encyclopedic knowledge of politics and history, which is very rare these days. People just, especially
Yeah.
younger ones, and
Right.
I'm always looking to get younger, and femaler and more diverse.
And you know,
It's always got to be about merit.
I learned this on the casting side of things. You know, the important lesson is that as an actor, you go in and you're nervous and you just go, I hope they like me. And what it takes, and I've been on the other side where I'm producing, it's like, and people are coming in auditioning, you want everyone to be great. It's like, nothing would make me happier than could you be the guy and we were done with this bullshit. Like, you want somebody to come in and like, yes, you had one line, that's all I need. That's a funny mind. Give me that guy.
Whenever young actors, types, actresses, whatever, have asked me, advice about that, that's the one thing I always say is like, just remember when you're auditioning, they're more nervous than you. They have a problem to solve that they want you to solve,
Yes.
but they've seen other people and their problem is not getting solved. So
you'd like you to be the guy.
They would kill for you to be the,
Yes, answer their problems.
Yeah, and it is a problem.
Yeah, that's so fun. So when you spot, so it's a funny mind. Have you ever hired somebody on like one joke?
Well, maybe. I mean, probably not one, but yeah, maybe. I mean, just also, it's amazing how much indoctrination goes on the left, so that like when I read samples from people each year to see what's out there, they'll all be writing about, because it's a topical show, about, maybe it was something that was going on 3 weeks ago, and whatever the story is. And it's amazing the way the point of view from 12 out of 13 people will be identical. And it will not always be my point of view. And it will just be you know what it is? It's the late night guy's point of view, because they all have the same basic point of view about politics, which we don't have to get into specifics. But I don't always have that,
How many writers?
And that's what I see in their writing. The
They've
premise,
been watching too much TV.
they're too indoctrinated into just, the
Surface.
liberal bubble.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm always seeing something different, I think, and seeing a much broader picture than they are willing to go there. They understand how this town works, and they watch that a lot, and they're kind of just locked into that. And when I see somebody who is not that, who is just willing to see everything for whatever it is, and is not ideologically captured by one side, just wants to see and identify what's true, that person will go a long way to impress me. But it says a lot to me that I don't see it a lot. Like, it's a very cookie cutter, exact same point of view. The jokes might be different, but the point of view in it is the same. And
are you reading it off of printed?
yeah, they submit, and then I read. They write some rules. They write, and they take a stab at an editorial, which is usually comically inept. It's amazing. You watch the show and this, and this is still what you think would actually come out of my mouth. I mean, it's hard to find. I mean, you still keep in touch.
I remember.
Do you write every word of your own stand-up? You ever work with somebody?
Once in a while, I have a friend who I'll go, just play with me on this, and they'll write some stuff, and then I will change it. But no, 95%.
Because it's very personal. I mean, your stuff was always, I have to tell you, there are jokes that stick in your mind just because there's something in your life that you do that the bit always comes back to you.
What's the bit? I can't even imagine.
Taking a shower, and there's not enough water for both of you.
So somebody told me, it's funny, somebody else told me similar, it was in a shower bit that I did years later. He said, and the premise was, the areas that we spend the most time cleaning are not the areas that need it most. Like guys with like 40 minutes here, like this is never going to be dirty.
But your bit was that if you take a shower with somebody,
Yeah.
there's just, it seems so romantic.
Yeah.
But there's just
One of you is in the back going,
one is not getting water. And like, I have never, ever taken, it's ruined that one, that could have been a pleasure in my life. And it's just like in the movies where they superimpose the head of the guy coming at you. It's like every time I'm there trying to get, and there's Paul Reiser's face doing this bit.
Well,
one of
I'm
you
so
was not
honored.
getting enough water.
I'm so honored to be a part of that intimate moment in your life.
It's just terrible.
That's like literally 40 years ago. But by the way, people want to watch new stuff. I do have this special that you can watch on Amazon or Apple, wherever you can buy stuff, and it's newer stuff than even that, by the way.
What's it about? Give me some.
What I tell people I'm not smart enough to make anything up, so I'm only going to tell you what happened in my life, in my wife, and that stuff. See, that's not a reason to get married, but you would have a new 40 minutes.
I mean,
because there's only so much you can do on, isn't it great to not be married? Because everyone's in the audience going, wouldn't know.
Yeah, but I still can make it.
I know, it's working for you. I always use you as an example, like, not everybody should be married. My son, my 24-year-old, met a girl, and she's delightful, and they're happy, they're very happy. They're just going out. It's been a few months. And my wife's mother's, typically we go, so when are they going to get married? I go, stop that. I go, don't, there's no reason to do that. Enjoy this moment. Don't presume that it's this treadmill that Bill Maher, and I always think of like, well, Bill Maher should not be married. He's perfectly, he would make some woman miserable, and it's working.
But everybody makes each other miserable at some point. I never make anybody miserable. That's the thing about not getting married. You're not also in the trough. I mean, I'm sure there are heights or depths or whatever, that are.
I don't think everybody needs to have kids. Like some people like, great, I'm happy they don't have kids.
Definitely don't need to.
So I salute you on your diligence.
I salute you because, I wish people would just accept that it's personal preference. It's like, why do I not like sushi and you do, or whatever? You know what I mean? We're created different people with different wiring, whatever went into it in our formative years, the way we were brought up, but probably everything is locked in by the age of 5. Some people say even 2. And I think the die was cast for me at like that age. Like it was just.
Why? How so?
Because, I mean,
you had a bad relationship at 2?
With shit, yes. Like, I mean, they say the anal stage, which is 0 to 2, very formative because it's like, how were you? You're not aware of it consciously, but you're unconscious. If your diaper isn't changed enough, that kind of stuff, you become certain ways. I mean, everything gets locked in at that very formative time when you're not even really aware of when the personality is set. I mean, I've asked parents about kids. They all say the same thing. You can always tell, even at that age, what they're going to be like. Like,
really?
Yeah, like that's a wild one.
That's probably true. That's what there is.
You don't find that with your kids?
Yeah, I think you see certain sparks of that, and you go and you marvel, and I see pieces. I go, wow, I see myself in my son. I go, wow, that is your mother, and then her pieces are going, I don't know what that is. Like, and by the way, why should it? It's like there's nothing in my parents that you could look at my parents and go, he's going to be a comedian. Like it's not not in there. But yeah, I enjoy the pieces that surprise me. That I see sparks in my kids. I'm going, that's just you. That's entirely you. I'm actually writing. I'm writing a pilot with my younger son. That it's really. I'm buckling up for an interesting journey because it's like, I'm supposed to be the guy that knows what he's doing, and I'm going to try. But he's really funny and actually really creative, and it was interesting because you were talking about before, like being the child of celebrity or whatever. we were pitching and we were just playing with like barest bones of the story. I said, well, what if it's this? And because we had been invited to the studio and asked me to come up with the show, and it was his father-son thing. I said, why don't I write it with you? And he's a writer to begin with, and we were just jamming. And I said, hey, by the way, afterwards, I said, you did really good. I said, you're really good. He said, I finally understand why you had a hit show. I went, A, what the hell did I say that you heard that? And B, like, really now? Just today? You figured out, oh, Dad knows what he's doing. But like, yeah, it was a really...
What a great moment for you.
It was
because
beautiful moment. Like, it's like, oh, because we're on level ground, like, it's like, oh, I actually see your worth and your skill. It's like...
Yeah, it's hard to get things out of your kids because they're kids that you can't blame them for it. That's part of just being that you just have this tunnel vision about like my needs, my world.
I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want a kid who goes, well, my dad is...
But like, I recently went through, I had a reason to go through, I had all this old family stuff. I labeled it in a file, and I went through like my letters that were written to my father that he had saved.
From his parents?
No, from other like friends.
Oh, okay.
These are like from like the end of World War II into the 60s.
Wow.
Because a phone call cost money and a stamp was 3 cents. And you realize and again, these are just letters to him that he saved. So I don't have the letters he wrote to them.
Okay.
3 friends of his, 3 guy friends. And, you realize I was alive, for part of these letters from the late 50s into the 60s, when he's talking about things that I was never aware of, even though I was alive, like switching jobs and maybe we can do this. And like this other friend of his who was a comedian and they were, thinking about doing some, and you realize, oh, when I was a kid, he was just dad.
Right.
He's there and that's great. But I don't give a shit what he's doing or where he goes to get the money for my
But you wouldn't even think to even ask those questions because you don't imagine.
But of course, he had dreams too, and he had ambitions, and he had places at times when the job wasn't going well, or he had to get a new one, or he was just taking care of shit, and it never got to my level, and that's like. I don't think that goes on that much anymore.
No, but it's just part of life when you get to a certain age and you realize. Oh, so my parents were younger people, and my son is, my son's 24 and he lives in Brooklyn now, and I'm 45 years ahead of him, whatever. But I can totally remember and relate to finding your first apartment and how great New York is when you're 24 and you're single. Oh, you met a girl, that's great. Oh my gosh, it's your first. You're walking around, you're walking along the river. It's like, oh, I remember that, but I'm the dad now. I'm not the 24-year-old.
Right.
And I did this 20 years ago. I did this movie with Peter Falk about called The Thing About My Folks, and I was trying to understand my parents' relationship because I was the 4th of 4 kids. So they were just tired by the time I got there. And I would think, but it wasn't always like this, right? You were 25 and you met and you went, oh, there's a pretty girl. And you went, oh, there's a handsome guy. And then you said, let me ask you out. Now you're sitting watching the news and you're not talking to each other. What's that arc? How did we get from there to here?
That's why I never got married. Because that part you described in the beginning, my mind is like, why would you unless you had to, unless it's a gun to your head. This is identified even by the people who usually, get married as the time they liked, and they reminisce about it, and they remember. So why, if I didn't have to, why would I not keep doing that part? But that's just
you make an argument that's hard to argue. It certainly looks good on paper.
I know on paper.
And it works for you. And I thought, what's going to happen at the end of this? Will one of us convert the other? I will get single, or you'll get married. No.
And then you move in.
It's the odd couple. But now it's garbage, Bill.
Apropos of that, can I tell you an amazing story about these letters?
Please.
So, again, apropos to they were 25 or whatever. So my parents met in high school, but my father was 2 grades younger. He was friends with, my mother was friends with his sister, I guess. But so they didn't really know each other well. Again, my mother's a senior, he's a sophomore. You wouldn't be interested in a kid like that. Then they're both in World War II, and she sees him on stage at a USO thing or something.
On stage.
On stage, you know, just
Doing-
like being an MC of some little show.
And Belzer's father didn't show.
And she's like, oh my God, that's Billy Maher from the neighborhood. And so that's 1945. They got married in 1951. I don't know what happened in these 6 years, but the letters are certainly indicative that my father was not just seeing her,
Okay.
or maybe not at all. But they must have stayed in contact.
Right.
Like I never asked them when they were alive. I wish I did, but like, were they seeing other people? Was he like saying he was with her? But some of the letters are asking about him with this girl he took to the club the other night or something. So plainly,
Right.
shit was going on. And then here's the really verklempt part. He's engaged in the spring of 1951 and marries my mother in July. Not to her was he engaged. So he broke off an engagement and married someone only a few months later who was not the person he apparently rented the hall with.
Wow.
And I think, piecing this together, I don't have direct evidence, but I think the whole reason why is in 1951, a Catholic boy just did not marry a Jewish girl.
But your mother was Jewish? Your mother?
Yes, that's the point of the story.
So, but what, when
So
he
I
broke
think
off-
I think at the very last minute he said, this is the woman I love, and
I
I
see.
didn't think I could go through with it because, again, 1951, way more outrageous a Jew and a Catholic than interracial marriages today. Interracial marriage today is as it should be, whoever you want. But back then, Jew, Catholic, it just wasn't done. Society, families. So I think he was engaged to some other Catholic girl, and then at the last minute said, yeah, but that's not who I love.
Wow.
And I'm going to just fuck it.
And
And
you never got, do you have siblings?
yeah,
Do they have any information?
no,
Nobody knows.
no.
It's so
I
funny.
mean, no, they would. First of all, even if they were alive, I don't.
They
I'm
wouldn't
not sure
share.
they would tell me what was going on in those years.
Well, that was, when I did this movie, the Peter Falk movie, it was based on a letter that I found that my mother wrote to my father but never delivered.
Wow.
Ready, Dr. Freud? While pregnant with me. Well, she wrote this while expressing her discontent and she shared. I remember sharing. I'm sharing this with your audience. I had this idea, father-son movie, and I remember asking my mother. My dad had passed, and I remember, no, my dad hadn't passed yet. And I remember saying, I said, well, the father and the son go looking for the mother, but why would the mother leave? And my mother said, this may help you. And she sent me a letter and went, it was like the fucking Rosetta Stone. Like, oh my God, that's like explains my whole life. I get your relationship. And
Well, what was it?
it was basically saying she was now married for 13, 14 years. I was the fourth of four kids. She realized all the dreams she had for their wonderful marriage weren't going to be. He was going to be dedicated to his business, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. Her discontent. And I had always felt that discontent, but nobody would acknowledge it. And then when I reached out to her and said, oh, I get it. And she went, it's just a letter. I was in a bad mood that day. I went, oh, motherfucker.
That's a great punchline.
Yeah, and it was like, she, and it's like, I understand that. Yes, you don't feel the 365 days a
Yeah,
year.
it's both.
Yeah, and
It's both true and some days not true.
and so so to me, that movie was me trying to connect the dots. How do you get from two 5-year-olds who meet and find each other attractive and appealing to we're watching.
I'll tell
Walter
you
Cro-
how. You fuck it up and spend every goddamn day together. And there's just no two people on earth that interesting.
Nobody's chasing. You're still running. Nobody's making you get married.
No, I'm
you
just
make a
saying-
very fervent argument, and nobody's making
I'm
you.
just saying, my whole thing is I'd rather say to somebody, I miss you, and mean it, than be with them every day and say it and don't really mean it.
I think you can relieve yourself of that pressure There's nobody waiting, nobody expecting you. I think your argument has been made. You're 68. I think you're out of the woods.
You'd be surprised.
You know what?
I mean, it's in their nature.
I don't know.
Women.
Do you cut this down, or do you edit these, or no?
No, if you want.
No, there's nothing I said.
Nothing I said.
I'll share. Did you happen to? Did you read Norman Lear's memoir?
No,
Okay,
but I had dinner with him once at Rob Reiner's house.
fair enough.
Does that count?
No, he was, an exceptional.
But he was
guy.
a great pioneer of television.
He was a great pioneer and a great guy and fucking funny and really irreverent.
Sharp right into the end, over 100.
Over 100. So I remember he was writing it for a while. He was writing his memoir, and it took him a couple of years. And I remember we were going to get together, and he said, "Yeah, I'm still writing." I said, "What are you up to?" And this is like mid 2010, 15. He said, "I'm up to 1992." I went, "Norman, don't fuck around." I said, "You're not a young man. Type faster." But in this,
Did he laugh?
Yeah. Oh, he was great.
See, I wouldn't.
Oh no, he would.
I don't think jokes about you're going to die sooner.
We had a thing. We did Phil Rosenthal's show together at Langer's Deli. Me, Norman, and Phil, and he said he got the cheesecake and he said, "I'm going to have maybe a little piece." And I said, "Well, wouldn't it be funny if this is what kills Norman?" And he went with it, and he took a bite, and he went, and I went, "Okay, I think it was safe." But anyway, what I wanted
That's probably the healthier thing.
It is.
Maybe I'm insecure about it. But
of course.
I feel like you're going to die soon jokes are just wrong.
Well, I stopped myself from making a joke to the audience. If I die tomorrow, you will remember this
we
night.
don't think you're about to die.
No,
I mean, you're
but
not
I
a
do.
spring chicken, but you don't. But
No,
you
I'm
don't.
not, but I know that you can get hit by a bus tomorrow.
But that's not different. That's different than a 100-year-old who is going to die tomorrow.
True, it is different.
It's just.
But But anyway, the story I wanted to tell that moved me and stayed with me. Norman told in his book, he wrote a story, and it's phenomenal, really interesting life, and he shot down like 47 German planes in
World War II. Shot down
in the Civil War. That's how a good pilot he was. He talked about throwing a party for his wife's 60th. His wife was many years younger than him, so he's in his 80s, I guess, and he's throwing a party for his wife's 60th.
Robbing the cradle, huh?
And he talked about how he did this, and he got a band, and he put the thing together.
A band?
He got a whole big thing. He thing, and then at the end of the party, he was so like, "Look what I did," and his wife was going, "Yeah, but I didn't want any of that." And he was in the book, and he was sharing. He's like, "I wasn't being a husband. I was being a producer. I produced this great party," and I was thinking, "Wow, you're in your 80s, and you're still going. I have much to learn about relationships." I'm going, "Okay." Yes. So, by the way, the fact that I haven't mastered everything, that our relationship is still in flux, and it's not to be mourned, but rather like, oh, yeah, it's a growing thing.
To be perfectly balanced.
It's not a fight you want.
To be perfectly balanced about this,
yeah,
I totally get that story, and will tell you that Norman Lear, genius as he is in television, is dumber than me in relationships, because that is something I would not have gotten at 30 or probably 40, maybe 50, but certainly by early 50s, I would never have made that mistake of being the producer instead of the boyfriend or the husband or whatever. There's a certain point it did sink into me what women wanted and needed, and it wasn't producing. That's correct. So
my takeaway is, though Norman lived to be 102, you're saying you were smarter than him. Yeah,
about that specific issue. Maybe it's because he was married all those years. And
twice,
so,
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But
I wasn't.
What spoke to me was the fact that this is an ongoing journey, and there is a release in saying, "Oh, I don't have it yet. Perhaps I will get this." And by the way, and at the same time, I totally do get you going.
Yeah, well,
that's not an arena I want to combat in.
I was a slow learner, and again, not that mature for so long. Kind of it's kind of a theme, I think, in my character, a late bloomer on things. That when I do get something, I do take pride in the whatever lessons I have learned or mastered. There are things that I had on my list of New Year's Eve resolutions for 1975. I'm not making this up, that I still am working on. Like I was still like, oh God, I had that on the 75 list. This
you
is
know,
going to be the year.
But this goes back to what we were saying about that our act is better now than it was 6 months ago. It's like that's nothing to be ashamed of. That like, oh, I haven't licked that problem yet. But because by the way, if you do check everything off, well, then I guess I should die.
Right.
Like if you get everything right. I mean,
No.
I do a bit in the special. I do a bit about do unto others. It works in life and it doesn't work in marriage because many things that I would have done unto me, she don't like done unto her. and we literally last night, we had a really interesting argument. And I said, well, because I expressed what I was, she did something that annoyed me and I expressed it in my vernacular. And she goes, well, but you're being, you didn't just come out and say it. I went, right, because I was trying to say it how I would say it. She goes, just tell. And I realized, what's that balance between here's how I say things, but no, I have a partner. Let me try and accommodate, and here's how she might best hear it. And it's frustrating, and it's certainly a battle that you have opted out of.
Yeah, that's the one thing I could never take in relationships. It's like you have all these little fights. Sometimes you don't even know what you did. You looked at the waitress for 2 seconds too long.
Have you had long relationships?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
I don't mean with management. I'm
Yeah.
talking about girls.
like 5 years,
Okay.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had.
I didn't know that.
I get the drill. I certainly have had the starter program for what a marriage is: monogamous and multi-year. So I feel like I am qualified to comment on it. And the problem is that nobody ever really forgets where they buried a hatchet. So you have these little fights. And again, she's got a puss on her now. Why? I didn't even know what I did. So, then I start acting bad, and then you patch it up. You always get over it, but it's like a car. You get a little ding, you get a little dent, you get a little scratch, and then you're driving a piece of shit.
Well, listen, it's just like there's certain people who shouldn't drink. You should not get married. You should not be. It's
Right.
like it doesn't.
As long as you know it. And for years, for many, many years, I was so inculcated in this idea that is just in the culture that you do have to find as an Easter egg this perfect person, soulmate, all that stuff that is seeped into the culture and everything, all the movies, every idea, TV shows, talk shows, chicks on TV talking, and it's all that idea of the perfect person and the one and the soulmate, and it's like, I
Not
don't.
for everybody.
Well, and possibly not even out there, or the other thing is people
No,
get
it could
to,
be out there, but it's not something that you're interested in.
but the idea of just one person being like the only one for you. People get divorced, that people die,
Yeah.
and then they have another
Yeah,
person,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're a little more malleable.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, I couldn't quite imagine somebody being more right for me than my wife.
Yeah, but that's lucky.
But I could also, hypothetically, if we hadn't met, it would have been that person.
Yeah.
And we would have had the same journey.
It's like religion. Like if it's not a
You're
mystery.
a religious guy, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not a mystery why if you're born in Pakistan, you're a Muslim.
Right, yeah.
It's just the same thing with, well, I guess Jews is different.
So
But what do you think about the Jews these days? I gotta tell you, it's not so fun out there as it used to be. Am I wrong? Is there not a
am
lot?
I right, ladies?
Is there not a lot of Jew hate out there?
There seems to be. I have noticed. I have noticed.
I gotta
So if I understand correctly, it's not like tomorrow you're going to wake up religious and married. If I gleaned anything from today's little drinking session with you.
No, I feel like religion and marriage do have a lot in common. Actually, what really has a lot in common is marriage and communism, because because I feel like they're both grafted onto an ideal of humans that is not realistic. communism, the idea that we should all be and could all be unselfish, and
Yeah, you make a valid point.
I love it. You didn't want me to finish with.
No, I know. It
It's
makes exactly right. It's like, yeah, we're not unselfish people. We're not unselfish people.
And thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, America, you know,
Not a fan.
I am a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Are you?
Aren't you not?
Come
on,
I
man.
haven't watched I'm a big fan of America. Not in
with
theory.
with all the bullshit.
I would rather live here than anywhere else. But
Okay,
I'm
that's
so
all I'm saying.
not
It's like-
thrilled with this moment.
Nobody's thrilled with this moment. Well, I mean, there are actually people who are very thrilled with this moment, and they're doing this.
I was talking to Kash Patel this morning. He is.
But
yes.
you know, but even with all the bullshit, I mean, it's like, you know,
Let's see. Yeah.
it's amazing. It's actually amazing the way it's like my dog. It just keeps going. You'd think it'd be dead by now, and it just keeps fucking going.
Well, this is why, this relates to why we love stand-up and why we love narrowing, or for me, let me speak for myself, narrowing my focus. Like, boy, if I look at the big picture, it doesn't look good. So I'm going to work on this line.
Right.
I'm going to read this book.
Right.
I'm going to talk to this friend and keep it small.
And the truth is, you're probably going to be able to keep doing that,
God willing.
no matter what's going on out there in the world. Of course, the worst things could happen. Trump could get into office and blow up the world on day one. But, I'm not going through the same spilkus I did last time. Like,
Really?
Yeah. Like,
I did
when,
not
when,
fo-
when it happens, wake me, but I'm not giving my mind over to it again. And I'll see what happens. And one thing I've learned about the future is that we're very bad about predicting it. And whatever you think is probably likely to happen probably isn't going to happen. So
I feel I didn't actually watch election night. Did Harris not win? I feel ill-equipped
man,
to have the conversation.
you have not lost a step. I remember first knowing of you when you went underwear shopping with
Michael
Mike
Caine
and got the
And
part
ended up in diner.
diner.
From underwear to diner.
And I remember thinking at the time when the movie could talk about it, and then I saw the guy, and I was like, oh, I see why that happened. I see why he got that. So, and you still got it.
So got it. This is
So-
great fun. Do you do this nightly? Because I am free. I
No.
have nothing on the books.
Not weekly, because I only allow myself a couple of drinks a week.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you do. Well, I'm so glad you squeezed me in before your big show
I'm
tomorrow.
glad you squeezed.
I'm going to stand up. You want me to stand up too?
Yeah, I do.
Do I have to leave? But I have so much more material. All right, thank you, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not a TV. That's a
No,
monitor.
that's a-
Doesn't help us. All right, watch. We walk into the sunset, some beautiful music, and it'll be something. You'll have something. Oh, I have a microphone dragging from my
Club